Dr. Kevin Williams pressed his face against the cold metal of the spaceship window, staring at the warning lights that flashed red around the distant planet. His 10-year-old son Tyler bounced excitedly in the seat next to him, pointing at the massive space station floating in the darkness. "Dad, look at all those ships," Tyler said, his eyes wide with wonder. "Why are there so many?" Kevin smiled at his son's excitement. They had traveled for 3 months to reach this place, and Tyler had asked the same question every day. "They're guard ships, buddy. They're making sure nobody goes where they shouldn't." The planet below them looked ordinary enough, brown and green with swirling white clouds. But Kevin knew what made this place special. Hidden deep inside that world was something that had puzzled scientists for over 3,000 years. Captain Nicole Brown's voice came through the speakers, crackling with static. "Attention all passengers. We're about to dock with Research Station Alpha 9. Remember, some areas of the station are off limits for your safety." Kevin had heard the stories, of course. Every alien species that had tried to get close to the artifact had either gone completely insane or died on the spot. The Zephyrians, with their 4 brains, had sent their best scientists. All of them had collapsed within minutes, screaming about voices in their heads. The rock-like granite people, who were known for being impossible to hurt mentally, had tried next. Their expedition team had simply stopped moving entirely, like statues, and never woke up again. Even the telepathic whisper folk, who could read minds from across a solar system, couldn't get within a mile of the thing without their mental abilities shutting down completely. The few who had survived the attempt described feeling like their thoughts were being crushed by something impossibly vast and ancient. "What's down there that's so dangerous?" Tyler asked, pressing his nose against the glass. Kevin looked at his son's curious face and felt that familiar mix of pride and worry. Tyler had always been different from other kids. Not in a bad way, just special. He seemed to understand things that adults missed. Animals trusted him instantly. He could calm down crying babies just by talking to them. His teachers said he had an unusual way of solving problems, like he could see connections that others couldn't. "There's something very old down there," Kevin explained carefully. "Something that belonged to creatures called dragons. But it does something to people's minds that makes them sick." Tyler nodded seriously. "Like how some medicines work for some people but not others." "Something like that," Kevin said, though he knew it was much more complicated. Every species in the galaxy had tried to study the dragon egg. The Galactic Council had spent millions of credits on research. The smartest minds from dozens of worlds had attempted to unlock its secrets. All had failed. The docking bay was huge and busy. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around, carrying equipment and talking in their various languages. Kevin recognized some of them: the tall, blue Atlanteans with their flowing robes, the small, furry comet people scurrying around with their tools, and the floating crystal beings that looked like living gemstones. Dr. Ashley Davis met them at the airlock. She was a human scientist who had been studying the artifact for 5 years, though always from a safe distance. Her brown hair was streaked with early gray, and her eyes had the tired look of someone who had seen too many mysteries without answers. "Welcome to Alpha 9, she said, shaking Kevin's hand. "Your son will love the observation decks. We have the best view of the quarantine zone in the galaxy." As they walked through the station's corridors, Tyler kept looking around with that same curious expression he always wore. Other researchers nodded to Dr. Davis as they passed. Kevin noticed how they all looked the same: frustrated, tired, defeated. 3,000 years of study, and they were no closer to understanding the dragon egg than when it was first discovered. "The artifact is completely sealed off," Dr. Davis explained as they walked. "We can monitor it from the control room, but nobody gets within 100 yards of the actual chamber. The mental effects are just too dangerous." Tyler stopped walking suddenly. His head tilted to one side, like he was listening to something very faint. "Tyler?" Kevin asked. "You okay, son?" The boy blinked and looked up at his father. "Yeah, Dad. I thought I heard, never mind. Can we see the control room?" Dr. Davis smiled. "Of course. Right this way." But as they continued down the hallway, Tyler kept glancing toward a corridor marked with warning signs and locked doors. Something was calling to him from that direction, though he couldn't quite figure out what it was. Tyler couldn't concentrate on what the adults were saying in the control room. Dr. Ashley Davis was showing his father charts and data screens, pointing at numbers that meant nothing to Tyler. But all he could think about was that sound, like someone whispering his name from very far away. "The energy readings have been stable for decades," Dr. Davis explained to Kevin. "Whatever's in that egg, it's been waiting for something. We just don't know what." Tyler wandered over to the big window that looked down at the planet below. Somewhere down there, buried deep underground, was the thing that was calling to him. He pressed his hand against the cool glass and closed his eyes. Tyler? Tyler, come find us, His eyes snapped open. That wasn't his imagination. Someone, or something, had definitely said his name. Dad, I need to use the bathroom, Tyler said quickly. Kevin looked over from the displays. Down the hall and to the left, buddy. Don't wander off. Tyler nodded and slipped out of the control room. But instead of going to the bathroom, he followed the feeling in his chest that seemed to be pulling him in a different direction. The hallways of the station were like a maze, but somehow Tyler knew exactly where to go. He passed several security checkpoints, but the scanners didn't beep when he walked by. The automatic doors slid open without any problems. It was like the station's computer system couldn't see him at all. Chief Engineer Robert Johnson was reviewing security footage later that night when he noticed something impossible. The cameras showed empty hallways, but doors were opening and closing by themselves. Motion sensors were activating with nothing there to trigger them. That's not possible, he muttered, running the footage back and forth. Either we have a ghost, or our systems are completely broken. Tyler found himself in front of a massive door marked with warnings in dozens of alien languages. He couldn't read most of them, but the pictures were clear enough, symbols showing heads exploding, minds breaking, and creatures falling down dead. But the voice was stronger here. Much stronger. Don't be afraid, young one. You are safe. You are special. Tyler looked around the empty corridor. There was no one here to stop him, and the voice sounded so friendly. Like a grandparent calling him over for a hug. He reached out and touched the door's control panel. The massive barrier slid open with barely a whisper. The room beyond was enormous, like a cathedral made of crystal and metal. In the center sat something that took Tyler's breath away. It was an egg, but bigger than a school bus, floating in the middle of a ring of blue energy. The shell looked like it was made of the most beautiful stone Tyler had ever seen, dark purple that shifted to silver when the light hit it just right. Come closer, little one. Don't be afraid. Tyler walked across the smooth floor, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. As he got closer, he could see light pulsing inside the egg, like a heartbeat made of starlight. All around the room, warning signs flashed red. Alarms should have been screaming. Security teams should have been rushing in. But everything stayed quiet and peaceful. When Tyler reached the egg, he stopped just inches away from its surface. He could feel warmth coming from inside, and the whispering voice was so clear now it sounded like someone standing right next to him. We have waited so long. So many tried to reach us, but their minds could not hold our thoughts. They broke like glass under the weight of our memories. But you are different. Tyler reached out his hand. His palm was tiny compared to the massive egg, but somehow he knew this was what he was supposed to do. Your species, humans, you bend without breaking. You adapt instead of shattering. This is why we call to you. Tyler's hand touched the warm surface of the shell. The moment his skin made contact, the entire room filled with the most beautiful light Tyler had ever seen. It wasn't bright enough to hurt his eyes, but it seemed to fill every corner of the chamber with a gentle glow that made him feel safe and happy. The egg began to crack. Not violently, like something breaking, but slowly and carefully, like a flower opening its petals to the morning sun. Lines of silver light traced patterns across the surface, spreading out from where Tyler's hand rested. Yes, finally, after 3,000 years of waiting, someone who can truly hear us without fear. Tyler smiled as more cracks appeared in the shell. Whatever was inside wanted to come out, and somehow he knew that was exactly what was supposed to happen. The voice in his mind was no longer distant and whispery. It was warm and strong and filled with joy. Hello, young Tyler. We have been waiting so very long to meet you. The shell of the egg fell away like pieces of a giant puzzle, each fragment dissolving into sparkles of light before it could hit the floor. Tyler watched in wonder as something incredible emerged from inside. It was the most beautiful creature he had ever seen. The dragon was enormous, easily the size of a small airplane, but somehow Tyler wasn't scared at all. Its scales shifted colors like an oil slick in sunlight, deep purple one moment, brilliant silver the next. Its eyes were ancient and kind, like looking into the face of the wisest grandmother in the universe. Hello there, Tyler said simply, the same way he might greet a new friend at school. The dragon lowered its massive head until it was level with Tyler's face. When it spoke, Tyler could hear the words both out loud and inside his mind at the same time. Hello, brave little one. I am Daylin. I have been sleeping for so very long, waiting for someone like you. Asterisk. Someone like me? Tyler asked, reaching out to touch the dragon's snout. The scales felt warm and smooth, like polished stone that had been sitting in the sun. Asterisk. Your kind, humans, you have something special. Other species, when they try to speak with us, their minds break under the weight of our thoughts. But you bend like a tree in the wind instead of snapping like a dry stick. Asterisk. Tyler nodded like this made perfect sense. My teacher says I'm good at understanding things that are different. Suddenly, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors as Tyler's father Kevin realized his son was missing. Dr. Ashley Davis was frantically checking security cameras while Captain Nicole Brown ordered teams to search every section of the station. The artifact chamber. Dr. Davis shouted, pointing at her screens. Something's happening in the artifact chamber. Kevin felt his heart stop. Tyler, he whispered, then started running as fast as he could toward the restricted section. When the adults burst through the chamber doors, they expected to find tragedy. Instead, they found Tyler sitting cross-legged on the floor next to the dragon, both of them perfectly calm. Tyler was showing Daylin his digital tablet, swiping through pictures of Earth. This is my school, Tyler was saying. And this is my dog, Buddy. He's really good at catching frisbees. Kevin, Dr. Davis, Captain Brown, and Chief Engineer Robert Johnson all stood frozen in the doorway. The dragon turned to look at them, and they felt a strange sensation, like someone gently touching their minds. Asterisk. Do not fear. Asterisk. Daylin's voice echoed in their heads. Asterisk. The child is safe. He is, remarkable. Asterisk. Dr. Davis stumbled backward, her hand pressed to her forehead. The mental contact was overwhelming, but unlike what had happened to other species, it wasn't destroying her mind. It just felt like trying to hold too much water in her hands. How is this possible? She gasped. Every other species that tried to communicate with dragons went insane or died. Asterisk. Because they tried to contain our thoughts like water in a rigid container. Asterisk. Daylin explained. Asterisk. When the container could not expand, it shattered. But humans, you are like flowing rivers. You adapt. You change shape to hold what cannot be held in fixed forms. Asterisk. Kevin stepped forward slowly, his eyes locked on his son. Tyler, are you okay? Tyler grinned at his father. Dad, this is Daylin. She's been sleeping for thousands of years, waiting for someone who could talk to her without getting hurt. Isn't that cool? Captain Brown activated her emergency communicator. Command, this is Alpha 9. The artifact has awakened. We need immediate assistance. Within hours, ships from all across the galaxy were speeding toward the station. The Galactic Council was in emergency session. Some members wanted to destroy the dragon before it could cause damage. Others wanted to study it. All of them were terrified. But Daylin remained peaceful, content to sit with Tyler and learn about humanity through their conversations. The dragon asked questions about Earth, about human families, about how people solved problems and helped each other. Asterisk. My people once served as guardians and teachers to young civilizations. Asterisk. Daylin explained to the growing crowd of researchers and officials. Asterisk. But most species either worshipped us as gods or feared us as monsters. Neither response allowed for true partnership. Asterisk. What makes humans different? Dr. Davis asked, though she was getting better at handling the mental contact. Asterisk. You see us as we truly are, neither gods nor monsters, but simply different. Your son Tyler looks at me the same way he might look at any new friend. With curiosity instead of worship. With acceptance instead of fear. Asterisk. Tyler was drawing pictures in his tablet now, showing Daylin different animals from Earth. The dragon studied each one carefully, asking questions about lions and dolphins and butterflies. Asterisk. We have much to teach each other. Asterisk. Daylin said. Asterisk. If your species is willing to learn. Asterisk. In space above them, the first ships of the Galactic Council fleet were arriving, their weapons charged and ready. But down in the chamber, a boy and a dragon were becoming friends, and somehow that simple friendship was about to change everything. The Galactic Council's warships surrounded the space station like angry wasps around a hive. Admiral Zextar, the four-armed commander of the fleet, stood on his bridge staring at the readings his sensors were sending back. Every instrument was screaming that there was something impossibly dangerous on that station. Charge all weapons, he ordered his crew. If that dragon shows any sign of hostility, we destroy the entire station. But down in the artifact chamber, Tyler was teaching Daylin how to play tic-tac-toe on his tablet while his father Kevin watched nervously from the corner. You're really good at this, Tyler said as the dragon won another game. But you're thinking too many moves ahead. Sometimes it's better to just have fun. Asterisk your species finds joy in such simple things, asterisk Dalen observed. Asterisk other races I encountered were always focused on power, territory, or survival. But humans, you play games just to laugh together. Asterisk. Dr. Ashley Davis was monitoring the communication channels, listening to the heated arguments between different species in the Council fleet. They're talking about using quantum bombs, she told Captain Nicole Brown quietly. Some of them think the only safe dragon is a dead dragon. That's when the station's main reactor started making a sound that no reactor should ever make, a deep, grinding noise that made everyone's teeth ache. Chief Engineer Robert Johnson came running into the chamber, his face pale with terror. We've got a cascade failure in the main reactor core. The containment field is collapsing, and I can't stop it. Kevin grabbed Tyler's hand. We need to evacuate. Now. But Tyler looked at Daylin, and somehow he knew running wasn't the answer. Can you help us? He asked the dragon. Asterisk I can try, young one. But I will need your help to understand your technology. Asterisk. Robert stared at them like they were crazy. A kid and a dragon are going to fix a nuclear reactor? Tyler's always been good with machines, Kevin said, surprising himself with how calm he sounded. And if Thalin has been alive for thousands of years, maybe she's seen this kind of thing before. They rushed to the engineering section, Thalin following behind them. The dragon had to squeeze through doorways that were never meant for creatures her size, but she managed it without damaging anything. In the reactor room, warning lights painted everything red. The containment field was flickering like a candle in the wind. Robert's instruments showed they had maybe 10 minutes before the whole station became a very bright, very brief star. I don't understand, Robert said, staring at his screens. The field generators are working perfectly, but something is interfering with the quantum stabilizers. Tyler walked over to the main control panel and put his hands on the interface. He had never seen anything like it before, but somehow the patterns on the screen made sense to him. It's not broken, he said slowly. It's scared. Asterisk the child sees what we cannot, asterisk Daylin said, her mental voice reaching everyone in the room. Asterisk your machines have grown beyond simple programming. This reactor has developed something like awareness, and the fear of all the beings on this station is affecting its ability to function properly. Asterisk. That's impossible, Robert said. Reactors don't have feelings. But Tyler was already working, his fingers moving across the controls with confidence that surprised even his father. It's okay, he said softly to the reactor, like he was calming a frightened animal. Nobody's going to hurt you. We just need you to stay stable for a little while longer. Thalin placed one clawed hand on the reactor housing, and suddenly the grinding noise stopped. Asterisk I can feel its confusion, asterisk the dragon said. Asterisk it has been listening to the fear and anger from the ships above, absorbing those emotions until they disrupted its core functions. Asterisk. Working together, Tyler and Thalin began to stabilize the reactor. The boy understood the technical systems in a way that amazed the engineers, while the dragon provided the emotional balance needed to calm the machine's newfound awareness. Containment field at 80% and rising, Robert reported, his voice filled with disbelief. How are you doing this? Tyler sees connections that others miss, Kevin said proudly. And Thalin understands things about consciousness that we're just beginning to discover. Within an hour, the reactor was purring like a contented cat. The crisis was over, and over 3,000 people on the station were alive because a 10-year-old boy and an ancient dragon had worked together to solve a problem that the station's best engineers couldn't fix. The news of what had happened spread quickly through the Council fleet. Admiral Zextar found himself in the unusual position of ordering his weapons powered down. Dr. Davis contacted the fleet directly. This dragon isn't our enemy, she broadcast to all the ships. She just saved everyone on this station. Maybe it's time we tried talking instead of fighting. One by one, other humans volunteered to attempt mental contact with Thalin. Kevin was the first, followed by Captain Brown and Robert. Each found the experience challenging but manageable, their minds stretched but not broken by the ancient consciousness. Asterisk your species continues to surprise me, asterisk Thalin told them. Asterisk you adapt, you overcome, and most importantly, you work together. These are rare gifts in the galaxy. Asterisk. The Galactic Council was watching, and they were starting to realize that maybe humans were more special than anyone had imagined. 6 months after Tyler first touched the dragon egg, everything had changed. The research station had been expanded into a massive diplomatic complex, with representatives from dozens of species coming to witness something that had never happened before in galactic history, Peaceful cooperation between dragons and another intelligent race. Tyler sat in his new office, which was specially designed with extra high ceilings so Thaylin could visit comfortably. The walls were covered with drawings and photos, some showing Earth cities and forests, others depicting the strange worlds that Thaylin remembered from her long travels across the galaxy. The council wants to make it official, Tyler's father Kevin said, looking at the documents on his desk. They're creating a new position, Human Dragon Ambassador. And they want you to be the first one. Tyler looked up from the holographic star map he was studying with Thaylin. At 11 years old, he was about to become the youngest diplomat in galactic history. Do I have to wear a suit? He asked seriously. His father laughed. I think we can work something out. Dr. Ashley Davis entered the room, her arms full of data tablets. She looked tired but excited. Tyler, you need to see this. We've detected 15 more dragon eggs responding to signals. They're all starting to show activity. My kin wake because they sense what we have accomplished here, Thaylin explained, her mental voice now familiar and comforting to everyone in the room. For 3,000 years, we slept, waiting for a species that could truly partner with us rather than worship or fear us. Captain Nicole Brown joined them, bringing news from Earth. The president wants to establish a dragon studies program at universities across the planet. They are offering full scholarships to any student who shows aptitude for cross-species communication. Tyler smiled at that. He had been working with a team of human psychologists and alien scientists to understand why humans could communicate with dragons when no other species could. The answer, they had discovered, lay in the unique way human brains processed information. Other species think in very rigid patterns, Tyler explained to a group of visiting researchers. When they try to hold dragon thoughts, their minds can't stretch enough. But humans are used to dealing with things that don't make perfect sense. We're good at adapting. Dr. Robert Johnson, who had become the station's head of Dragon-Human Technology Integration, was excited about the practical applications of their partnership. Thaylin has shown us energy techniques that could solve our power problems for the next 1,000 years, he reported to the council. And Tyler can understand and explain concepts that would take our best scientists decades to figure out. But perhaps the most important discovery was what the dragons had been protecting all these centuries. Deep in Thaylin's ancient memories were warnings about cosmic threats that the galaxy would soon face, dark entities from outside their reality that fed on the life force of entire worlds. The Devourers come every 10,000 years, Tyler explained to the assembled council representatives, translating Thaylin's complex mental images into words they could understand. They consume everything, planets, stars, entire solar systems. The last time they came, the dragons weren't ready. That's why so few of them survived. Admiral Zextar, who had once been ready to destroy Thaylin, now listened carefully to every word. When will they return? Tyler consulted with Thaylin, their mental connection allowing them to share thoughts almost instantly. Maybe 500 years. Maybe less. The signs are already starting to appear at the edge of the galaxy. This news changed everything. The Galactic Council realized that humanity's unique partnership with dragons might be the key to survival for every species in their galaxy. Dragons possessed ancient knowledge and incredible power, but they needed partners who could help them understand and work with modern technology and diverse alien cultures. We're setting up dragon embassy stations in 12 different star systems, Captain Brown announced. Each one will be staffed with human dragon teams, working to wake up more eggs and prepare for what's coming. Tyler found himself traveling from world to world, helping other dragons wake up and find human partners. Each awakening was different, but the pattern was always the same. Dragons who had given up hope after centuries of failed contact with other species, suddenly finding joy and purpose again when they met humans who could truly understand them. The young boy who had once simply reached out to touch something everyone else was afraid of was now at the center of an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. But Tyler never forgot the simple lesson that had started it all. Sometimes the best way to deal with something scary is just to be friendly and see what happens. We have much work to do, young ambassador, Thaylin told him as they watched another dragon egg crack open on a distant world. But for the first time in thousands of years, I believe we can face whatever comes together. Tyler grinned and scratched behind one of the dragon's massive horns, just like he might pet his dog back home. Together sounds pretty good to me. The galaxy had found its guardians, not just ancient dragons, but the partnership between two very different species who had learned that being different could be their greatest strength.